This is Coach Logan Bill, and I'd like to talk to you a little bit about fifth grade social studies this year. So, we're starting off the year learning about geography, and we're learning all the different aspects of geography and how it will help them to understand the future events that we're going to be studying as the year goes. After geography, we're going to be studying about European exploration. With the European exploration, the two countries we'll be focusing primarily on are going to be Spanish and English exploration. That will lead us into colonization. We'll be talking about the 13 English colonies, how they came to be, and how they operated a little bit throughout their time. This will ultimately lead to the American Revolution. In the American Revolution, we'll be talking about battles. We'll be talking about some of the famous people during the American Revolution and ultimately winning the revolution and gaining our independence. This will lead to the creation of the U.S. Constitution. With the U.S. Constitution, we will talk about the Articles of Confederation, the three branches of government, and the checks and balances system that we have in place today. That will lead us to the young United States, the period of time after we've won our independence and created our new Constitution. And with this, we'll be discussing the War of 1812, the Louisiana Purchase, the Lewis and Clark expedition, as well as Manifest Destiny. After that, we'll head to the growing nation. The nation grows, and with the nation growing, we'll be talking about the Industrial Revolution, the Indian Removal Act, and Trail of Tears, as well as other topics. This will ultimately lead to slavery dividing the nation. When we're discussing slavery dividing the nation, the growing tensions between the North and the South caused by the industrialization. And this will ultimately lead to King Cotton and slavery, as well as the abolitionists who were fighting against the spread of slavery. And ultimately, the Civil War. With the Civil War, we'll talk about major battles. We'll talk about the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendments that came after the Civil War during Reconstruction, as well as Northern and Southern strategies during the war. From there, we'll head to studying the U.S. States and Regions Project. This will be a project that your students will learn more about later this year. We'll also talk about the changing West. As the United States grew west, it created changes as we continued moving westward toward Manifest Destiny in the Pacific Ocean. We'll talk about the transcontinental railroads. We'll talk about the cattle kingdom, settling the plains, as well as the Plains Wars. Then we'll talk about how the nation industrialized. Big businesses and growth of cities, the U.S. gaining territories, and then we'll move into the 20th century, a changing world. We'll talk about the 1920s and 30s, the boom and bust period. We'll talk about civil rights movements. We'll talk about Vietnam. We'll talk about the Cold War. We'll talk about the War on Terror. And that will pretty much end our year. Thank you for your time.